even know it.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Chester deliberative meeting for Monday, October 7th, 2024. And for those of you viewing, hello to you too. Looking to my left and right, all of council is here. We have our solicitor, and our solicitor will take it away.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of council, members of the public, members of the administration. Welcome to the Monday, October 7th, 2024 deliberative meeting for the City of Chester. The following ordinances will be on the agenda. Final reading of Bill Number 9, Ordinance Number 8, amending Article 901 entitled Excavations. Amending Article 901 entitled Excavations of the Codified Ordinances for the City of Chester by adding new subsection C to 901.13 entitled Backfilling and Repaving to include circumstances for base repair, surface milling, and overlay. First reading of Bill Number 10, enacting an ordinance for the collection of delinquent taxes. Approving collection procedures and adopting penalty, interest, and schedule of attorney's fees to be added to the amount collected as part of delinquent real estate tax municipal claims for delinquent accounts. The following resolutions will be before council for consideration as well. Resolution 103, to authorize approval for the reappointment of Susan J. Dennis as a member of the Chester City Planning Commission, term to expire December 31st, 2028. Resolution 104, authorize approval to ratify an independent contractor agreement with Nicole Wagman to provide community and economic development services commencing October 1st, 2024 until March 31st, 2025. That would conclude the list. There has been a request for an executive session to discuss legal matters from our city clerk.
Today or when is that?
Whenever council.
After this? Okay. Number 104, the contractor for the economic development services. Now, do we have a list of projects that we're asking this person to do, or a list of accomplishments that we want them to accomplish within this, I believe it's for 6 months, or yeah, however many months that?
Correct, it's 6 months, yes.
Okay.
This is more of an interim director for the Director of Community Economic Development position, since there was a vacancy in that department. So she will be filling in those responsibilities and those duties. So I just had the opportunity to meet her for the first time last week, which was the first week on the job, so still catching up. And Nicole, if you want to introduce yourself, Nicole Wegman is right here. So that's our interim Director of Community and Economic Development. We'll be developing a list of projects, though.
Okay. Oh, so she's taking Gamil's place. Is this that position?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Also, now I know it was we put a lot into that one title. Have we talked about revisiting that, or what is the plan for that? Because I think that's a lot for one person. So are we looking at trying to ratify that, or really, get, because I understand we're hiring people, but I don't want to just keep hiring people. I want to have some goals and a list of accomplishments that we are expecting for this person to accomplish. And I don't know if that is being done.
I think that's one of the goals that I share with you as well, that we want to look at the entire department, look at the job description, not only for this particular position, but the other individuals that are in the department, to see if we're right-staffed, understaffed, overstaffed. That's one of the things that we'll be looking into. Director of Community Economic Development is one area, when you also have zoning and planning and the health department. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Councilman. That's a lot of bases to cover. So that's one of the things I think I want to work with her on, to make sure that we've got the appropriate staffing levels that we need.
And now she's covering all of those? She's still going to be over top of all of those departments?
That is correct. That is my understanding.
L&I too?
L&I too.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot.
It is. It's an extremely a lot for one person. Right. And that would be my concern. I don't want us to set people up for failure or set someone up, give them a heavy task load. The next thing you know, we got another turnover because it's too much for one person. So let's really look at that and see, moving forward,
Absolutely.
how we can, I think, there needs to be more than one position, but I guess that's for another date, but
No, but it does.
yeah.
It does, because it's overwhelming for one person to take on so many tasks. And so we already have a high turnover as it is within the city, and we just don't want to keep revisiting that.
Understood, absolutely.
Can we hear from Mrs. Wagman? I don't know if everybody knows her. I know.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Good afternoon, members of council and the mayor. My name is Nicole Wagman. I am looking to support the Department of Community and Economic Development, serving as interim director. I do agree that that is a pretty big job. In my previous roles, though, I did serve as Director of Community and Economic Development for the City of York, where I oversaw zoning, licensing, permits, the Health Bureau, and the Department of Economic Development. So I have some experience running it, and I do agree that we need a few more people in that department to get us to a point where we need to be.
Okay, thank you.
And so you have the certifications needed in the L&I department, or do you need that, or is it just your people under you need those certifications?
I've spent the last, I am not certified in, like, let's say, to be a building code official. However, I do have a lot of experience working with someone who's a building code official and know what the expectation is. I'm not certified to be a property maintenance inspector, but I've overseen property maintenance inspectors and understand the kind of things that we should be looking for. Now, I have the experience to run the department, but as far as certifications within the department, I'm still assessing. It's been an interesting journey over the past the past few days, understanding what's going on and where everything is.
Hold on, I got a question.
Okay.
This isn't your first rodeo in this area here in the city of Chester, so just want to make it plain that you're not coming in totally green. You've done some work in this department, so and to everyone's point, you're only going to be here contracted for 6 months.
Yes.
So you're not going to save the world in the 6 months. So two things: give us a little synopsis of what work you've done in the department already, and what would be your priorities in this position, because we know you're not going to solve the world in 6 months.
Yes. So previous to this engagement, I worked on the receivers team, primarily looking at ways that we could help to support the department and specifically bringing more of an economic development focus to the Department of Community and Economic Development. We also worked to assess and recommend some different structuring in the Licensing and Inspections Bureau. We've also worked on things like the citywide parcel condition survey. That was a project of mine. We've worked on the market value analysis, which is kicked off, which I've had some brief conversations about. We've worked on the comp plan that was completed. We helped to support the work of the recast boost study that was done. We've done lots of work within the department over the past 3 years, and that's how I've developed relationships with some of the departmental staff. We've been able to have a rapport, which is why I thought I might be a good fit for this position, because I already have working relationships with much of the folks and have an understanding of some of the projects that have come through. And we used to also have pretty significant interactions with the former chief of staff, Leonard Leitner, to keep us abreast on those localized projects that we might be able to provide guidance on. And then your second question.
Priorities.
Is my priorities. My priorities is to, right now I'm in the assessment phase of everything, understand what's going on and where everything is. I'd like to get to the point where we're structured in a way that makes sense to be more responsive to the public. That's my second iteration. My third priority is to really start to figure out who the next candidate's going to be to replace me when the engagement's done, and help to hire someone who could effectively run a department that is structured in a way that responds effectively to projects and people and some of the things that I've seen in the city council meetings that have been reported. I'm going to step back a little bit.
They're hot today.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And I just want to add, I'd be happy to sit down. My intention was to, but I just got my email address for the city of Chester, but my intention is to open the door to sit down with each and every one of you to hear your input on what the plan should be. I don't presume to be a prophet on what should happen. I'm just here to kind of lend my expertise and technical skill to get us to advise on a path and do some of that implementation as well.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear.
My door is always open.
Thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, I guess I'm next. Do you have anything else?
Oh, we appreciate
Anybody?
your Point here.
Yeah, I wanted to get a better feel for the ordinance, Bill number 10, the collection procedure, why we're doing it, and what we look to accomplish with this one. So, Mr. Troutman, would you be the one to explain it? I think Mr. Moore is probably just seeing it for,
I think we both can, but
okay.
I'll start with, what we did was a recognition, we did an assessment of delinquent taxes in the process. And we flow-charted it, and we looked at different reasons as to why it's been accumulating. And some of the things that we found that other places are doing that the city is not are the things that you're seeing listed there is we don't have a formal collection process. We will advise people that they're delinquent, but there is no structure that requires, for example, first payment have to be applied to the order. We don't have really implemented an interest process. There is a penalty, that's the 10%, but once you don't pay it, it's 10%. So, I'm speaking with that. So, but in all seriousness, that 10% doesn't change for 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 years.
So it should be added interest every year.
Those types of things. And we have to we have to figure out how to implement them. This is allowing us to have the ability to do them. There are some operational things that we're also looking at doing. And with all this, we clearly know that there's going to be more communication being done in advance. And we've been looking at the data, and we are seeing where the delinquents are sitting and accumulating, and the profile of those types of entities. So we started doing an analysis to try to help us collect monies that are owed to the city so that those that do pay their fair share are not unduly burdened. That's the overall arching reason as to what we're doing.
so that is absolutely correct. In addition to which, the city has always had an enabling statute enabling the collection of delinquent taxes and municipal claims. However, there was a recent Supreme Court case which required municipalities to publish the fee schedule for such collections. And we did not have that up to date, and we recently got a new, engaged e-collect under a new contract, and we did get fee schedules, so we thought it appropriate to update our enabling statute.
So this isn't a effort to bring in a new collector. E-collect has been collecting for us, and they are going to continue to collect for us?
They are we have utilized, the city has utilized e-collect on the real estate side. to some extent mixed in the library, but the rubbish has been done in-house. So this is part of the continuum to include a legal aspect on the rubbish side. But it's also geared toward operationally trying to do more better efforts internally to keep it from having to go to the collection. Because if we can work with the residents and the landlords, the owners, before it gets to the legal side, then obviously less money being incurred, all those issues, it's better for everybody. So that's part of this, it's part of the continuum to use somebody we're already using.
Okay. So primarily what we're doing is creating a better method for us as city employees or the city in general, informing people that you're late, you're in collection status, as opposed to maybe that first letter and then they never hear from us again.
Yeah, the whole continuum of better effort to collect what's rightfully due.
Right.
And fair to the people who pay. That's a big thing with me, is people who are already paying their taxes. It's not fair for them to be burdened by those that aren't paying the delinquents.
Okay, so that raises a new question. How does a person who does pay their taxes get burdened by someone who doesn't?
Because if you don't get the cash in to pay the bills, it has to come from somewhere. So if you're, I'm picking a number, if you're not collecting 10 to 15% of what you're billing, then you have to raise the prices on the 85% that are paying in order to pay your bills.
So we're trying to reduce outstanding taxes, rubbish fees.
And therefore have more money to pay the bills, and therefore there's less stress on the current taxpayers that pay.
So we're trying to prevent from raising taxes, pretty much.
Yes.
Makes
The
sense.
rubbish fee, for those that aren't aware, the rubbish fees are technically supposed to be self-sufficient. The general fund is not supposed to subsidize trash collection. And the general fund subsidizes trash collection to the tune of upwards of $1 million.
See, now you're opening up a whole can of worms here, because that's not all collections related. It's just that the number that we charge for rubbish does not match what we're paying for rubbish
Exactly.
removal.
Yes, there gets to be a little bit of complicated math.
Give me some idea of what we are looking at, though, in terms of dollars with regard to collections.
Last time I looked, it was roughly $3 million of the delinquent rubbish is outstanding.
$3 million,
And it's roughly
and that's just trash alone.
trash.
Yeah, that's trash fees that aren't being paid by residents because
Right.
businesses don't pay us. They get private haulers.
Right. It does include landlords of residential properties, but it's your totes. The tote, those fees aren't being paid by roughly $600,000 a year. Yes, it's substantial, and understanding to Mr. Green's point, there is no continuum of interest or fees, so that's raw, that's a substantial amount. And then when we looked at it, there are the typical culprits. We're working through extracting the data throughout all the years that are open.
So when they don't pay, what happens? Do we stop picking up their trash, or we keep picking up their trash and allow them to?
That's part of the operational process that we have to work through, is are we gonna stop picking up trash, and therefore what are they gonna do with it? Or do we have better enforcement so that we don't get into that Damoculus sword, if I'm pronouncing that directly decision where it only hurts us in the end. We have to work through that.
Yeah, I think we have to come up with some kind of system in place where we are enforcing it, but then if they don't pay, you know, I mean, we wouldn't want to not pick up their trash because then the streets will be more dirtier and we'll have trash everywhere. And we don't want that, but we also don't want them to allow them to keep getting away with it.
Yeah.
So-
So there is some methodologies that we don't want to get into the legal issues.
Okay.
And the best way, obviously, is to catch it before it starts accumulating, to work on payment plans, those types of things that we work with the residents, if it's, especially the private citizens, we work with them. If they had a bad year, we work with them. But we monitor it so we don't let it accumulate. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 years accumulating, and then all of a sudden it's becoming an undue burden. And then when you add the legal costs, it just makes it really difficult.
But looking at $3 million in collections, is it some people are having a bad year or some people don't have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bad years?
As we look at the data, it's, generally speaking, it's the 80-20 rule. 80% of it is a few bad actors that just keep letting it accumulate. And some of them have multiple properties, so it's a consistent pattern. We're just at the infancy.
And a lot of these are like landlords, people who might own 10, 20 properties or more. Okay, yeah, we gotta start slapping notices on the door. Like, your landlord ain't paid their rubbish fee, and we gotta stop picking up the rubbish fee. So we gotta get more really aggressive.
Yeah, and in fairness, we just started looking at the data to understand what the characteristics are and how old it is, and literally, this is within the last 2 to 3 weeks. This kind of has come to this point fairly quickly to identify, I think we identified 10 or 11 specific actions we can do to improve the process. And a few of those are technical legal, that we have to clean up the enabling or enhance the enabling, and the other half dozen to 8, I think, are operational things that we can do better.
Are you working with Andrew Heyman on this? Or will this fall under his department in terms of the trash and the, not the collection portion, but like the enforcement? Would that, some of that come with Public Works? Because I know, with speaking with him, they did, he got a lot of ideas of how they implemented different things in Fallcroft and how they went about enforcement. So it may be good in terms of the enforcement piece that, you know, we sit down with him and see how we can better enforce it and use some of what other municipalities are doing.
The actual collection side resides within finance.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a comprehensive approach that includes L&I, it's going to include Public Works. Most of these things are not one department.
It's everyone working together.
And that's that task force type of approach that, in my experience, that tends to be the best thing to do is to bring different perspectives together to address the elephant and make it, you know, the proverbial one bite at a time as opposed to being overwhelmed by the size of the elephant. So that's generally speaking, that's, I think, going to be the approach to your point.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think lastly, this is more of a statement than a question. Hope it doesn't raise too many questions, but the other ordinance for the, what's it called, entitled backfilling excavations. There's a lot of words in there, but I think the real nugget in there is that when utility companies or whomever do street repair, we want them to pave from curb to curb as opposed to having little patches in the street. So I think that pretty much covers what that ordinance is about.
And they do it in other municipalities where they're putting back the streets to its full restoration. So we want that here in Chester as well.
And just really quickly, Joy, I don't know if you had a chance to look over the ordinance, but did all of the, you had some really good questions at the last meeting in terms of this ordinance. Was all your questions answered? Okay.
And I think we did change the wording from the department to Public Works.
Mhm.
Janelle, did we change that? It wasn't changed? Okay. So we don't need to? Okay. All right.
I hesitate a little to speak on behalf of Andrew, but he and I have talked about this on a number of occasions. And, one, I know that he's well versed on this and brought it forward. And two is, basically Coastal got the whole city repaid by the utilities. And it saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. You lose a little on the incremental fees that you might charge, but you get your whole, you get massive numbers of streets. And Andrew would tell you that he caught it at the beginning of a major
Project. Yep.
coming through the city. So it remains to be seen what streets and how frequent and how much, but there's a very real hope that we'll have significant percentages of streets being paved without having to go out of pocket. So, again, it's Andrew's the one who's spearheading.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can imagine if Chester Water Authority goes down a block that is identified with a bunch of lead service lines, that they'll be replacing them all, and there you go, a newly paved street. Or if they're putting in a main, whether it be water, gas, they drop the main in there, sewer, they'll have, well, pretty much they do the whole street anyway there, but I've seen them cut corners in different spots. If the main is close to the curb on one side, they could just dig out half a street and repave half a street. So this is good stuff.
And
Thank you.
PICO already has the project that they're doing where they're making trenches on the side of the road, but we already had a meeting with them, and they're supposed to do curb-to-curb restoration.
It is going to be really beneficial when they're running the line 3 feet off the curb and they're running it the whole way down the street. That's where it's really going to be beneficial to get the whole curb to curb.
Yep. Any other comments or questions from council? Solicitor, department heads, visitors, congregants? None? All right. Thank everybody. This meeting is adjourned. I guess we're heading into the other room. Executive session. But I got a wee-wee first.
By the way,